Hi, my name is Pekka Kolehmainen. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at TIAS and the John Morton Center for North American Studies. My background is in cultural history here, so I'm a historian as well as a North American Studies scholar. My project at TIAS is about the conceptual history of anti-feminism in the United States and in terms of right-wing politics especially. I'm looking at right-wing organizations, advocacy organizations, as well as think tanks, for instance, and looking at how they've kind of developed anti-feminist language in their outputs, in their internal workings, in their mission, etc. So I'm looking at kind of older organizations such as the Heritage Foundation and Free Congress Foundation, all started in the 1970s, as well as then some more contemporary groups such as the PragerU, which produces conservative-leaning YouTube videos in the present time. And I'm interested in how they use words, how they specifically refer to different concepts, how they talk about masculinity, for instance, or what they mean by gender, as well as a bunch of other these kinds of concepts in developing their own kind of ideological vocabulary. Because a lot of times this anti-feminism is how these groups kind of bring themselves together, how they cross factional boundaries in the sphere of right-wing politics, how they bridge together, for example, the old guard conservatism coming from the 1970s with the more contemporary expressions such as the alt-right, which rose up in a few years ago. And that's really why I think society at large should be interested in my project, because anti-feminism is key to the working of right-wing politics in the contemporary time, and right-wing politics is very much on the rise, especially far-right politics at this moment. And a lot of times these kind of political movements rely on a sense of antagonism, rely on a sense of having enemies, and feminists have been those enemies for these groups, and having common enemies brings them together, even when they might disagree on certain other aspects of their particular political ideologies. So that's why I think what I do is very important in figuring out what is happening right now in our political era. TIAS is a great environment to do this kind of research, since in the kind of modern university you end up applying for a lot of things, you end up constantly applying for funding. So it's very refreshing to be able to just sit down and do the work, to get down and start doing research, delve into your subject, go through some rabbit holes, follow up on some weird tangents, which is what research should really all be about anyway, is following these different paths wherever they might lead you. And TIAS lets you kind of do that. It lets you develop your own project, it lets you develop your own career as a researcher, and it lets you do that in a very inspiring and interesting environment with people coming from all kinds of different backgrounds, both in terms of academic disciplines as well as just countries of origin. So you get to meet a lot of different kinds of people coming from different viewpoints, coming from different methodological backgrounds, and talk about your subject, which are again very different in nature. And I think that's a very fruitful environment for research.